Welcome to the Gorillaz tribe of Amazon sellers. Welcome to our 5-part training series about how to best communicate with your Chinese suppliers. In this series, we will cover what platform to use, what to negotiate, how to build a relationship, how to select a new supplier, and we wrap up with a pro checklist for selecting a supplier. In this 5th episode, Paul and Rob will be covering a buyer's checklist for selecting new suppliers. Let's get started now.
Here's what some of the experts have had to say in the past. Okay, this comes from an interview that's held. It was in Hong Kong, actually, at one of the conferences out there, and some of the larger Amazon sellers were out there for a conference, and they were asked some of these questions. These are some of the answers. Be very careful when establishing business relations with new companies. Do as much due diligence as you can. For example, ask for the company's license and ID card and the passport of company's registered legal representatives. Well, I've never done that in the past, but like I say, I'm just reading this from one of the experts and what they said. Send people you trust to do the on-site investigation to the manufacturing site. In other words, use a third-party inspection or auditing company for that, and someone that is recognized in their field. Do a site inspection on goods before payment. We've covered that already. If order material needs legal testing, statutory survey, ask for the scanned report before the shipment. In other words, if you've got a Bluetooth product or something that needs some testing or certification, you need to get that product certified from something like Intertech or TUV, one of these test houses, independent test houses. You need to get that test certificate sent to you before products are shipped out. That's what they're talking about here. Next point down. Know the market price for the material you are seeking to purchase before you purchase it. In other words, don't get ripped off straight off. Okay, do some background checks, do some due diligence with respect to what is the average price for this product you are looking to purchase. Do not trust a company that gives you unreasonably low quotes. In other words, if you know that one of the previous things we were looking at was copper bracelet. If you know that the copper bracelet that you're looking for is around the $5 mark per item, someone comes here and there and goes, you know what, guys, I'm going to give you $1.50 per product. You think, hold on a minute, everything else I've seen is $5. And I thought $5, $5 to $6 or there or thereabouts. $1.50, yeah, that's what I'm going to make tons of money. Probably a red flag on that one, okay, because it's unreasonably lower than everything else that you find out there. Okay, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So here is that company chop that I was talking about. And here's something else one of the experts has said. Okay, use a formal and strict contract terms to protect your interest. A formal contract should be signed and stamped by all parties and include, but not limited to, the following items on the right. Now, I don't have a company chop, right? So I would sign it. I would sign my contract with my supplier. The supplier, I would expect them to sign it and provide the company chop on that particular legal document. Okay, so within that contract, you should be looking at the product name, product specifications, very important. Okay, the pricing that you've negotiated and finalized, the packaging details that you want your product to be packaged in, the quantities that you've been talking about on a monthly basis, the payment terms. Is it 30% down? Is it 70% after inspection but before shipment? Delivery terms. Are you talking about air freight, sea freight? What type of terms are you talking about? The quality standards was specifically to any testing methods. Testing terms. In other words, do you need your products tested before? How many do you want them tested before they're shipped out, etc.? Choice of law. Okay, now I know a little bit about this, not a lot. I'm not a lawyer, don't forget. But any legal contract should be in Chinese. Therefore, You need to get it written in both English so you can understand it and accurately written in Chinese. Because if it does go to court, it will be in China, not in America, because the Chinese don't recognize American law. So if you're trying to take your supplier to court, you need to do it in China. And the Chinese court only recognizes Chinese written contracts. That much I do know. That's I'm going to draw a line under that. You can also have a penalty on quality discrepancies. Okay, now that's quite detailed for the likes of you and I, but if we're starting to build our business and the builder's business is growing nicely, you need to start thinking about having some of these contracts in place. I hear you say, but I'm on Alibaba. True, so am I. Well, not on Alibaba, but that's where I do the majority of my searching, and I'm looking for my potential suppliers on Alibaba. So what about the gold supplier? Now, we've talked about this in the past. Now, this is what the gold supplier is all about. Alibaba Gold Supplier is a large source of income for Alibaba as a business. Suppliers wishing to be granted the icon, the little icon on the right-hand top there, on their profiles must pay an annual fee to Alibaba. The annual fee is in the region of $10,000. But that's a good thing. Why? Because it sifts out some of the lower end scam artists, some of the smaller businesses that can't afford that $10,000 a year. Okay, so this is why it's a reasonable thing to have that gold supplier stamp on the profile. Okay, if that reduces the legitimacy of the gold star in your eyes, then you will likely have a healthy level of skepticism. Alibaba Gold Star is arguably more about money exchanging hands than it is about safeguarding the interests of buyers. But like I said, it does weed out all of the smaller companies if they're looking to just get on there and scam people for the money, okay, because they won't have the $10,000 to put up to start with. Having said that, I think this is where we talk about it. Yeah, eliminates the low-end fraudsters and scams, because Alibaba Gold Star is 10,000, like I said. So there was a few years back, 2011, a big scam when it came to this gold star thing in Alibaba, because two senior executives at Alibaba Group resigned after a rather large-scale fraud went around the Alibaba gold supplier scheme. It came to light that 100 members of the 500,000 or the 5,000 strong sales team were taking underhand payments, under the table, kickbacks, whatever you want to call it, in exchange for allowing these fraudulent suppliers to skip the already merged verification process. In other words, you can't just like pay your $10,000. You need to get approved. Someone needs to go around your factory, around your office, whatever the case may be, wherever you're listed as, and they need to check, make sure that you are who you are. Okay. These 100 members were taking bribes in order to skip that verification process. Consequently, there was all of these fraudulent scammers all of a sudden getting this gold star, gold supplier badge on their profile, and they were able to scam a lot of people out of a lot of money. But that saga is now over. Alibaba's blacklisted hundreds of those suppliers, but it's still in the back of our mind, and it still remains up to the buyers to consider how much they trust and they want to place in the Alibaba Gold Supplier system. Okay, and this is why we need to still do our due diligence. And it's important that we get that independent third-party verification, or as much as we can, in order to get that verification, that continuity, and just do that due diligence in the background. So we've got to do that. So how do we do that? Well, we've been through a lot of how to do it and what to look for and what to look out for. But if you do need some assistance, there are many services out there that can help you. China Checkup being one of them. These are some of the guys that I know. These are based in Shanghai, just around the corner from where I used to live. You can see here they've got 3 recommended levels. Cost effective on the left-hand side there. Let me zoom in so you can see this. Okay. So the cost effective essential verification, okay, 129. We'll have a look at what they do in a minute. Okay. Then we've got the 199, and then we've got the full scope verification at just under 400. Okay, so you can see that. You can get your information back within 1 working day if you're looking down here. Also, on the pro version, it's 1 working day. So you can get your information back very, very quickly and verify that the supplier you're talking to is legitimate. So let's see what they do. Okay, for that 129, what do I get? Well, you get quite a lot actually, because all of these are indicating that they're going to be looking at the individual research for the individual company or supplier. An experienced team of China-based consultants will go and do that work for you. English language PDF report. So even though it's going to be carried out in Chinese, some of their research, some of their background, some of the due diligence in Chinese, and a lot of this concerns are going to be both searching the internet in Chinese. In other words, we're talking about registration. That's going to be all in Chinese, so they can do that, as well as picking the phone up and talking to these guys and asking various different questions in Chinese. Okay, so they're basically going to be quizzing them, but we get the information back in an English PDF report, which is great. Expert support via email and live chat during this period. Okay, so you get that information. Verification process, China Checkup, advanced verification method on all of those across there. Now, the official name and legal status determination, that is again what we're talking about when you got one piece of information coming across. Oh, I'm talking to Bender Plastics Limited, but they've sent an invoice in a totally different name. So, you know, what's going on here? Is this the company I'm actually talking to? Why is it a different name? Why is it a different bank account? Why is it all of this? This is where we need to get that information. These guys out there will do that for you. Okay. Look up and translate registration information, because the registration information will be, and it is, in Chinese. There's no way that I can go and check that. I can't read Chinese. Okay. I can speak taxi Chinese, but I certainly can't read it. Research, analyze, and translate enhanced features. Now, you've got to go up some level in order to get that. It's not on 129, but it's on the higher levels. Okay. There are more information. There's a lot more information on this website. Go and search for it. The top China Checkup, underline, that's a hyperlink. Go and check on it. Do your research. Talk to these guys. It's an English guy, it's English stroke Australian guy that runs it, so he can speak English and there's no problems. Talk to him and see if you need the service. Right, so I'm almost finished. Then we're going to open up to a few questions. I've got a few questions in there. Are there useful sources to help source safely from China? China Importal. We talked about these guys before. Again, a Western-owned company. A couple of Swedish guys own this, based in Shanghai again. They will help you find suitable suppliers. China Checkup, we just talked about them. Quality Inspection Org. This is a fantastic, slightly biased because I write some of the stuff on there, but this is a great source of information for anybody sourcing products from China. Great source of information. Sofeast Limited, that is an auditing and inspection company. SAOS or SAOS, again, this is an independent consultancy business that will help you through your journey trying to find products in China, trying to find suitable suppliers. I also do a lot of project management work as well if you're looking for a slightly bigger project. Jing Sourcing, we had these guys on a call a little while back. Again, they are out there. They can help you find particular products, particular suppliers, and help you through that process. Each of these images okay, has got a hyperlink behind it. So you can click on any of these and it'll take you directly to their website. So these are just useful resources that are found that can help you through this minefield with respect to getting your products sourced safely from China. Now, I'll put a caveat under this. All of this sounds a little bit scary, a little bit, oh my goodness, but it's there to help you. You've got to try and understand that the language barrier alone can be the source of a problem. Okay, so you need to go through this. You need to understand the process with respect to the best practices of getting your products sourced from China, working with particular suppliers, making sure you're not being scammed, how to get through this minefield, and hopefully, I know it has been a long and a fairly dry subject today, guys, but I think it's a very important subject that we all need to understand. Okay, so that's basically all I have. Let me just double check. Yep, that's all I have. So, questions, or Rob, have you got anything to add to that? I know it's quite dry on that, but I'm sure you got something to add to that.
I definitely do. Go ahead and shut that microphone off of yours.
Yeah. Go.
All right. So some of my notes today are, I guess the first thing that I think would be is, yeah, this is all scary and it's meant to be scary. But in reality it's just some checks you can do. It's like being aware if you're in a bad part of town, you just need to be aware what's going on. I would say for sure, a large majority, 98%, of Chinese companies are legitimate. Are there scammers out there? Yes. I don't care if you're in America and you're dealing with wholesalers or whatever it is. There are bad people no matter where you go. And all we're trying to do today is just make you aware. And even some of these simple things that Paul talked about can make a big impact. This is something you can do for an hour and just search online. The next thing is I think the thing that we talked about, which is the company chop and all that stuff. One of the things that I have found working with the Chinese is that honestly, when they have a contract, now they'll squirm a lot, but when you even have a contract written down, and when I say contract, I think sometimes, it needs to be a very simple form. They'll usually have some kind of contract, but these don't need to be complex documents. It just needs to outline what you've agreed to, how many pieces, what color, what size, what materials, so that the biggest thing is if somehow you're not using Western Union or using PayPal or some other form of payment with a credit card or whatever it might be, it's much easier to have a dispute when you have a contract and can show that there was a problem with what they said they were going to do. So the main thing is just to make sure that you have some type of contract. And like I said, it could be a bullet points. I don't care, but just make sure there's an agreed upon thing. Now, once you get that chop, I really believe that the Chinese, that's a big deal. Like that chop is like their guarantee or their name. So it's a big deal. They feel that makes things so much more official, and they're so much more likely to pay attention to what they said they're going to do with that chop on there. And I'm sure after this, Paul will probably make a comment and give a little more detail to that. But the chop, which is really just the stamp, but that stamp represents your company. And, Chinese business owners, that at the end of the day is important to them. Now, like Paul said, there is, face in Asia. And basically that just means you don't want to be embarrassed and you'll do anything about not being embarrassed for your fault. It's like pointing the finger at somebody else a lot of times. And we'd always rather they tell us the truth so we know what's going on, but they don't sometimes. I think the biggest thing that's going to be at the level if you're just starting out is all of these things cannot be applied to them. So, because we've talked about all these things, you may not be at a level where these things aren't going to impact you. If you have an order under $2,000 for your product, a lot of these things won't even be available to you, or cost-wise make sense to do it. So, you have to put that into the process. So let's assume you are dealing with a smaller order initial quantity, which we're going to suggest. A lot of these things that Paul talked about can be done quickly. Checking addresses, checking Google Maps. I mean, what if we could just drop down, and look at a building? Things like that. Just being extra smart and extra cautious, depending on, what you're doing. Reading profiles and communicating. Now, the last thing that I'll leave you with is, which I think is probably the most important thing you can do for your product. And prior to, let me say this: an inspection company or using a sourcing company to find your product. The issue is going to be is when you're doing a first initial order, and you're trying to get a small MOQ. You can't be crazy demanding, with these companies and asking for all kinds of things that in reality, for a small order like that, and they're getting, $100,000 orders and $80,000 orders, and here you come with your $1,000 order. Just know that, in fact, that, don't be too demanding, don't be crazy, because they'll just quit talking to you. And so just keep that in mind. But, using a inspection company is super easy. If you're going to spend now on $1,000 order, you're going to have to make a call. Does it make sense to spend $150 or not? But we do have the possibility that when you're in China, these inspection companies will show up, walk in the factory, look around, touch your product. You're going to get, and many of these services offer a little bit of background check on your companies, so you can go in and get some background information just from your inspection company. I'm always impressed at when you do an inspection, the amount of paperwork and data they give you. Most of these companies, it always seems impressive to me that they have this number of pages and they've done all of these things to check it on your product. So you're going to have to make a call. I would say probably spending 10% of the money you're going to invest in your company for a product, and that has to do with volume. Obviously, some of you guys are going to be starting out, and $1,500 is a lot of money. Well, to a Chinese supplier, that's it's pretty much nothing. So if it's a manufacturer, you're probably going to be dealing with a company that's just distributing. They're a supplier, a wholesale supplier, or they're not somebody who's the manufacturer. So it's a trading company typically. So, when you're dealing with them on those smaller numbers, you're going to have to debate how much it's worth. If you're really concerned about your money, go ahead and spend $100, $150 and have it inspected. That will make you sleep a lot better. Okay. But that's going to have to be a call of you. So the thing that I'm going to tell you, and here's the little secret inside thing. So what you need to do is I call it avoiding the catfish. You've heard that thing on that television show called Catfishing, where people are talking to each other online, and one of them's lying, and they're really representing themselves as somebody else, and you show up and you think you're going to meet Prince Charming, and there's a frog there. That's kind of one of those things. If you think about what I just said, I was even thinking, that's kind of how the system works over there. There's somebody saying they're a manufacturer and they're a trading company. And like Paul said, you got to listen a lot to what companies say and what they do. Look for small little things that happen. If they're lying about these small things, there's a likelihood they're lying about other things. How you're communicating with you. If they communicate with you easy, if they if when you send them an email, you get a response on time. All of those things will lead with you to understand your supplier is super important into this, because once you do with them, they have very much control of almost your money, almost everything in your business. So how you deal with them when you speak to them on the phone, when you talk to them. Now, remember, one of the things that I suggest is do not be sending email after email. Do not email these guys. You need to be on chat. And if you can speak to them, even better. But you've got to be chatting with them live instead of email streaming. Email streaming will extend the process of you sourcing your product multiples. I mean, absolutely multiples will be added to your time if you are using emails, because emails will take 24 hours. You're on a 12-hour time difference. You send the email, they're waking up, you're going to bed. If they don't get within the first 3 hours of you them coming to work, or you waking up, them going home, because they're going home at 5 o'clock, let's say, their time. Well, at 5 o'clock, it's 5 a.m. your time. Now what? So it's gonna take 2 days to get an email answered every time. So keep that in mind. You got to be able to talk to Chinese suppliers with chat. So either WeChat or Skype chat or Alibaba chat inside, but you should always be communicating with your suppliers through chat, so you get live interaction. So the last thing, if you're trying to save money, you've done some of these things on your own, you've checked these companies out, literally just read things and look at things on the internet. How long is their website being open? I know Paul talked about a lot of these things, but the one magic trick it's to avoid the catfish. And how do you avoid the catfish? Is we all have cell phones and smartphones in our hand, and we've deemed this what I call the iPhone inspection. So how an iPhone inspection is, and this is only for people who are, you've now went and you're only going to spend, let's say, $1,000 on your first initial product because you got a small order. Well, so, spending $150 and having an inspection is like, well, that's 10%, maybe 15% of what I'm spending on my product. There may not be any margin left at all to be able to test this product. So you say, okay, I'm going to forego the inspection. Well, how that works is, you've now done all these other things you can check out. You checked out pictures, you checked out. So you've got as much information as you possibly can. They're dealing with you nice and whatever, and you feel confident. But when you get this agent on the phone, get them online, have them take you out into their factory, have them take you out into their showroom, put you on live camera. I mean, we all can do this, where you can share screens and do this, where you can go in and look. So, if the guy says he's or the girl says she's, a beauty queen, and, she shows up and she's not a beauty queen, you can look at her on the camera. She's not willing to show you pictures. And one of the things that you'll find is that Chinese suppliers are super proud of their factories. Like, they love to show their factories. Oh, this is our factory. This is what our manufacturing looks like. That also prevents you from dealing with, places that you may not want to be buying products from, because they've got horrible conditions, and there's child labor inside of there. So do what I call the iPhone inspection. Have them take super high resolution photos of your item. Have them do a video. Request to have a lot of light in a lighted room when you do it, and they can snap pictures. You can look at it live on the phone with them. And again, have them show you their showroom. Take a picture of me and your people you work with. Be friendly with them even. That friendly, oh, I'd love to see your coworkers. Take a picture of your office. Hey, go down to your showroom and take a picture for me. Or, hey, go down and we'll live stream this. I want to see you, you want to see me. We're going to do business together. I really want to see what your factory looks like. So if on a live call, they can go down there, or are they in a dorm room somewhere talking to you, and they're not actually in an office? So the iPhone inspection is a very inexpensive way for you to check out what's going on with your product and your company and your manufacturer. If they're unwilling to do that, to me, that just sends up a red flag, and you may have a frog instead of a prince. We'll leave you with that.
Just to reiterate what Rob said about the chop, if you ask them to physically sign something, they will sign it, but it doesn't really carry any weight unless it has the company chop. That is their legal, and it is a legal piece of equipment. It's a rubber stamp, but it's legally issued from the government. Okay, and that is their. If you've got the company chop on your document, it means they're serious. Okay. All right, team, that's all I've got. Listen, I've got a few questions here. you've sent your first, hold on a minute, let me just read this again. I've just shipped my first shipment to Amazon. Hold on a minute. Woohoo! Well done, Will. But the provider or the suppliers sent in 6 cartons and only sent 1 tracking number. Well, Will, last week we had 7 cartons sent out. I had 1 tracking number. What I've done in my shipping plan is I added that 1 tracking number in all of the spaces where I could. Okay, so yes, that is fairly common, assuming that all of your products are going to the same place. If they're going to different places, you should have different tracking numbers, just to make that clear. So there you go. So if anybody wants to come down the front, we're just about to end, but Rob and I will be sticking around for a couple of minutes. If anyone wants to come down the front, I've dropped the link into the chat. So please come down. You can talk about your business, talk about the group, talk about anything you want, ask questions about today. Apart from that, that's all I've got. Happy Sunday and moving forward with your business, guys. That's all. We're out. You take care. Bye-bye.